Right, this week, a special edition of the Home Pros Radio Show. It's a Halloween edition, so we're gonna be talking about ghosting, not the kind that you're thinking of. It's a different kind of ghosting, and what does it have to do with homes? We have that coming up. Plus, we're finishing our fall maintenance checklist, and we're wrapping things up on our news desk with a ghost story. Yeah, there's a ghost in somebody's house, and you know what? They're talking dirty. Stick around for that, plus more on the Home Pros Radio Show.
The Home Pros Radio Show. Brought to you by Prime Lending. Home loans made simple. Welcome to the Home Pros Radio Show, the premier resource for the well-informed homeowner. With over 30 years of combined home inspection and renovation experience, your hosts, Tommy Donovan and Shane Hips, help you stay on top of your home improvement and home maintenance needs. Visit homeprosradio.com to access the trusted product and service providers that are a part of our Home Pros network. Find the Home Pros Radio Show on Facebook and Twitter for regular show updates and additional information on the topics covered on our show. To join the conversation, call 248-HOME-PROS. And now, your Home Pros, Tommy Donovan and Shane Hips.
And welcome to the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor.
Thanks for joining us this week. We have a special Halloween edition of the Home Pros Radio Show.
That sounded
going
spooky.
On. Did you hear that? I don't know if it came across
Try again.
On my ears.
It's very quiet. Maybe she's
I don't know if it's
behind a door somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's in the basement.
She's in the well, that way you can't hear her scream.
Yeah, so previous editions around Halloween, we would do things like spend time with Paranormal Investigation Team Greenville. Here's their song.
They got a song
playing. They had a theme song. I had it in my archives.
I think a ghost has been in here messing with our volume.
Yeah, I think that might be happening. Maybe if I reset my my button bar, that might help. But anyway, have you been in any haunted houses lately?
Since when? Like
since the last time we did an investigation.
No.
With them. There it is.
We got sound.
So yeah, any spooky experiences or anything like that?
No, I don't. Not that I can think of right now. I told you about the time that the door slammed behind me when I was in the front yard. Did I ever tell you that? It's maybe one.
Maybe I missed that one. I
don't
recall it off the top of my head. What was it?
You want me to go into the details?
Yeah. I want to hear this.
I was in a house. It was very close to here, and I'd gone in the house, and I'm looking around everything. I get everything set up, and had my list sitting on the kitchen countertop, and walking around. And
you were just at a house pricing it.
Yeah, I was looking around, looking at the repairs, and seeing what was going on. And I haven't been talking. I was wondering because I've been in houses before where people have told me that people have squatted in the house previously, and then that gets sort of freaky. It's like, whoa. So I'm walking around, but it's just sort of a weird feeling anyway. Just I don't know if it's the time of year, the neighborhood I was in, or what, but I just didn't. I wasn't liking it a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around, and I go out the front door because I can't even remember what I went to get. I was going to get like a screwdriver or something to take a panel cover off. Mm-hmm. So I walk out the front door, and I probably get about 10 steps. About that time that front door slams. Ooh. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Now, was it a breezy day? Did you have another door open in the house? It wasn't like an air pressure thing?
Not an air pressure thing. Nope. I bet I was scared.
Yeah. Scared. I got scared.
I was scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I go looking around and all this, and I'm like, well, and I happen to have a pistol in my truck, and because I do have a concealed carry permit. I mean, it's I had it there, but I was sitting there thinking, do I really want to go back in that house with this pistol? Because I don't want to have the opportunity. I don't want anything to happen.
Yeah.
I'd rather just go in and see what I can figure out. So I go back toward the house, and I walk around the different way. So I'm thinking, okay, the person that just slammed that door, I'm gonna sneak up behind them.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought I could do that, but that's what I decided. So I walk back in the house. My heart's pumping. You know, I'm very nervous at this point in time. And I walk in, and what had happened was that, you know, the closet door right behind the front door
Yeah.
in like some older ranch houses.
Yep.
That door had apparently been taken off the hinges, and it was leaned up against the wall right there. So when I walk, I guess me walking and, you know, just shaking the floors, whatever it took, that door fell against the front door and slammed that door. But I was a little scared on that. But yeah, come find out it wasn't a ghost, and it wasn't a transient or anything in there. It was just the door fell. But see, I didn't know because I can't remember how long ago that was. It was definitely before this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I don't think I've had any other ones happen. You know, every now and then you have those eerie feelings. You just feel creepy or whatever, like something's going on. But other than that, I hadn't really had.
I've done that before. Gotten myself all worked up when I'm in a house. Mm-hmm. It's easy to do if you're in a house and you're the only one there, especially in a vacant house.
Yeah.
In an older vacant house, even scarier.
Right.
And you can let your mind go.
And a rougher neighborhood makes it even more fun.
Oh,
because it's like, okay, what could be going on here?
But I've had that happen where I've had doors that'll slam on me and stuff like that, and it's usually because there's a window open or something, and there's a not a burst of air, but it's just a breeze that went through the house, which actually we'll get to talking about in a little bit when we talk about our fall maintenance checklist and stuff, air moving through a house. But but yeah, I've done that where it's like,
what was that?
And you're like, is there somebody here? I've been scared by clients before. That's happened a couple of times where, you know, they walk in and I don't know it, and I come around the corner and they're like, hi.
Oh,
that's enough to freak you out.
Yeah.
But
or being in a crawl space and you hear footsteps and you don't think anyone's there, and it's like, or you didn't know anyone's there, and it's like, okay, what was that? You know, weird things happening.
Crawl spaces are an easy place to get yourself worked up.
Yes.
Not only because of spooky stuff, not only because of, you know,
not only the goblins, the ghosts and
stuff,
goblins,
but the animals. Oh God, there are plenty of times that I'll climb over a wire, and
it rubs your leg.
Reaction, or it rubs against it'll rub against some ductwork in another part of the crawl space, and you're like,
what was that?
Please tell me I did that. So yeah, that will do it. So, but yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, since we're we're talking about, you know, we got Halloween. Wait, Halloween's on a Sunday, which is weird this year.
Is it a Sunday?
Yeah,
I was told it was a Monday.
Is it the 30? Or maybe I should double check. Maybe I should double check my calendar.
Because someone asked me earlier about if we were off on Halloween. I was like, no, that ain't no holiday.
That's not a national holiday. Oh, that's funny.
Is it on Sunday or Monday?
My calendar's not opening up right now for some silly reason. But yeah. And that would push it on either way, it's on a school night, which sucks for the kids.
Right.
You know, so it makes me wonder if
I think it sucks more for the adults. Kids don't know the difference. The adults are still wanting a Halloween late night. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good point. You know, we still want to have our fun too.
Yeah, the kids are just planning on getting wired on candy and going to sleep.
Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, it kind of leads us into our photo from the field this week. Let's go ahead and hit it.
The photo from the field.
What are you looking at? I know what I'm doing.
Did you see that?
So I figured it'd be good to talk about a phenomenon that we have in homes. This kind of goes along with it. We have a theme, not only a Halloween theme, but we're talking about building physics today on the Home Pros Radio Show. And this is a phenomenon we have pictured in our photo from the field. It's called ghosting.
Yeah. It'd be easy to hang a picture on that wall.
Yeah, I know, right? You don't need a stud finder in this house.
Hey, this would be pretty easy.
So have you ever noticed black stains on your walls that follow the framing? I remember when my first townhome, I had an unvented gas fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And after living there a year, I noticed I was starting to see little lines in the walls and the ceiling up above the gas fireplace. And it was because of this phenomenon we call ghosting. It was soot coming from the fireplace. Well, the good thing is when you see something like this, it's mainly a cosmetic issue.
Right.
And here's how it works. Think about this. You're living in your home, and it's the winter.
Okay.
It's cold outside, and inside it's nice and warm, and you're doing things like cooking. You might be cleaning, showering. You're causing humidity to wander through the house, float through the house. You might be burning candles, or in my case that I just mentioned, burning a fire in the fireplace.
Right.
And in the winter, the insulation in your house keeps the cold air out and the warm air in, but you still have a certain amount of air transfer between the warm wanting to get outside.
Gotcha.
And the insulation keeps that from happening. But like you see in the photo behind us, and folks who are listening to our podcast, you can catch our photo on our social media at Home Pros Radio, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Your insulation keeps air from moving through your walls, but not in every location, because you don't have insulation preventing air movement where the studs are located.
Okay.
So as air moves through and you have particulate in that air, what ends up happening is your drywall ends up acting like a filter, and it traps or collects things like soot.
Okay. I've never seen this, so I'm actually.
You've never seen
I'm
ghosting?
listening and learning as we go. I've never seen this, and of course, I have so many questions. It's like, okay, so it seems to me like a solid wood
Would stop it.
would stop it even better than the insulation would, in my mind. So I'm sort of. I'm just listening, trying to learn.
So we'll see the insulate. What it does is the wood. What you have is the insulation stops air from moving through the gaps in your walls between the studs, or the stud bays, as if you would call it. But not as well where you have your studs, because there's a gap there between the end of the insulation and the start of the stud.
Gotcha.
So you still have that air gap,
I got you.
if you will.
That makes sense.
So, and then what happens is your drywall ends up forming or acting like a filter. So, and that's how you get the black sooty stains on your walls or in the ceilings in your home's framing. Sometimes you can even see it where the drywall nails are,
Okay.
because condensation happens to form more quickly on metal nails,
Right.
as compared to drywall. So, if you see that staining developing between the framing, that indicates, if you see it the opposite, let's say you start to see it in between the framing, you don't see it as much in the studs, but in the stud bays,
Right.
That's an indication that somebody forgot to insulate your walls.
Well, that would make sense too.
So that's one of those things to keep an eye on. It's called ghosting. It's a normal thing, and it has everything to do with building physics. Sometimes you'll see it around. We've actually in the past talked about air filtration through, it's a I guess a phenomenon called filtration that you'll see in carpeting around the perimeter of the room, where air's wanting to move through the floor.
Yeah, and under the
Or
door
under a
especially,
door.
where if there's not a return in the room and
Correct.
it sucks it back that way.
And you have that black line that forms where the door usually closes. If you have a closet that's always shut and something like that. So
Right.
It's the same type of thing.
Gotcha.
Now, how to fix it? Here's some things to consider if you have an issue like that. Like I said, I had that issue because I had an unvented gas fireplace. I'd be burning fires in making my house warm. It's cold outside, and that air's moving through the walls, and the soot from the unvented fireplace is just collecting on the walls.
Gotcha.
Well, you don't run that fireplace as much. You stop burning candles, firewood, or incense. If you're that kind of person.
You can't burn your incense now?
Yeah. So seances you're going to have to do less often. Keep your indoor humidity below 55% during the cold winter months.
Okay.
That's usually easy if you're running an HVAC, if you're running your heating system.
Yeah,
'cause
if
they
you're-
talk about the air drying up.
It's drying up anyway.
But some people like their hot showers. Some
Yeah.
people like to, and that contributes moisture to the air.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had water dripping on me this morning.
I
in the
was
shower.
gonna say
that's the first. I haven't had water drip, but because it's so cold, and of course I'm not turning my heat on because it's not going to be continuously cold. It's cold for 3 days, right? So
Yeah,
I was in the shower this morning, drops keep hitting me on the. I backed up, looked. Yeah, because it was so. My shower was so hot compared to the room temperature because I haven't turned my heat on.
That happened with me.
I'm fighting it.
That happened with me last night. In fact, I was like, I better leave this exhaust fan on because there's a lot of condensation on the walls.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that you keep that. The building materials can become damaged if that's the case. I've seen it in homes. We've shared the photos before where you see like drip lines going down drywall from you know times when the house hadn't been ventilated well, the humidity was high.
Right.
Another thing you could do is to actually eliminate the stains. This is a cosmetic issue that's easy to fix if you just use stain-killing types of paint.
Gotcha.
And primer and refinish the walls when you repaint ceilings and walls and that sort of thing. So it's something that I usually see this condition in homes that either have been vacant for a long time or homes that I've heard people call grandma homes. Realtors have mentioned that before to me, where it's like somebody has lived there for many, many years.
Gotcha.
And that not much has changed.
Right.
They hadn't painted in a while or changed the carpeting and such, and chances are good that the person was a smoker or something like that. But not unusual to see. But like you said, it makes it easy to hang a picture.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't miss that.
Put up a light fixture or something.
Right.
So that is, folks, is what we call ghosting. So that's all related to air movement through the house, which is something that I want to get into in our next segment. We're going to be talking about our fall maintenance checklist and what you need to know as we approach the winter months. That's all we're hearing these days with all the gas prices being so high and everything. We're hearing a lot about how it's going to be that much tougher, more expensive to heat your homes.
Right.
And that's related to our next topic that we'll be getting into as we take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about the Home Pros Radio Show Fall Maintenance Checklist. And we're going to be talking about things like the stack effect and your building envelope and things like that affect the air in your home. We'll talk about that after this on the Home Pros Radio Show. If you're a home service provider who takes pride in your work and strives to be recognized as a trustworthy professional in your industry, the Home Pros Radio Show wants to hear from you.
Become a Home Pros Radio Show partner. Send us an email at ask@homeprosradio.com.
Your Home Pros Radio Show Expo listing and your featured appearances on our podcast are just the beginning when it comes to the ways that we can help brand your business on the Home Pros Radio Show.
It's a great opportunity. It's just an email away. ask@homeprosradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and I find stuff.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor, and I fix stuff.
Yeah, and you've been fixing a lot.
Yep.
Maybe doing more so outside of the real estate realm.
Yes, yeah, a lot more renovations, homeowners rather than home sellers. Yeah. Like I always say, whenever our real estate transactions slow down, our renovations and repairing houses that existing houses that they've already lived in, really jumps up at that point in time.
And a lot of people are doing that more, I would say. In light of this market that we're dealing with interest rates going up, people are focusing more so on staying where they are. Maybe
right.
Doing additions and fixing what they got rather than going out and getting some new.
Yeah.
Which is, I kind of see maybe on my side of the business. On the, you usually work in the real estate. When you are working in real estate, you're on the seller's side. And typically. I'm always, majority of the time, on the buyer's side.
Yeah. Well, with the crazy market the way it was when it was absolutely wide open, we had a little bit of a swing where we were working more with the buyers, but generally the sellers are the ones. But the reason we had the swing because so many people were selling the house as is.
Oh yeah.
So
They want the repairs done before they move in.
It was
or
so
something.
much of a seller's market they didn't have to fix things.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm not fixing it. I got 5 other offers on the table. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
That's sort of how it became.
do that in a
so we
seller's
had
market.
So we had more and more buyers actually reaching out to us. But
Yeah.
yes, typically the sellers are the ones that are paying us. Now, even when we were going out for the buyers, a lot of times they were wanting those numbers to use as a negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can get some off the price. Maybe whatever. But or see if it's even worth them buying the house
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to take that much to fix these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I was just because this was the one time that we actually were hired a lot by the buyers other than the sellers.
That's
Just short
interesting.
ago.
Yeah, and things are changing in the market. People are, like I said, staying put. They're staying where they are. They're going to be, I would say, this year more than ever. I feel like they're going to be paying attention to things like what it costs to heat and cooler, or especially heat their house with this winter coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of leads us into our fall maintenance checklist, where we're got a last couple of items
Yep.
that we have to cover in our fall maintenance checklist this year, this go around. And there are some things that are pretty much related to air quality, air movement,
Right.
heating and air efficiency.
Yes.
Let's see. The first thing on our list would be it's the semi-annual test your smoke detectors and fire extinguishers.
Yep.
So we want to do that this year, or in the fall and in the spring. Mainly more than anything, I think it has. I guess you could say it kind of has to do with the season.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're getting ready to burn fires,
Fireball.
and fireplace and
Yeah.
stuff.
Do you have a
But-
fire extinguisher in your house?
Do we? I'm not sure. I don't even think I do.
If you, I was just wondering because I don't have one. I mean,
And it's recommended you have one on every floor.
it would make sense to have one, but I mean, I was sitting here thinking that we're home pros. We should probably have
I
a
know,
fire
right?
extinguisher.
But the other thing to do is not just have one, but to have one that is, as they say,
accessible.
accessible and I guess up to date. They do expire after a certain amount of time.
I got you.
So
I got
if
you.
you have
Well-
one that's been sitting in your house for 40 years,
Well, if you do have one, it's probably not even good.
yeah, I know.
You know, do it because I don't. I'm gonna get one. I need to. I think I probably should get one. So you guys out there, get you a fire extinguisher.
That's it.
Because I'm sure a lot of you don't have them, just like we don't.
Yeah. Another thing to do this time of year is to reverse your ceiling fans.
Yes.
So this is the time you want to set your fans to blow the air up and around to help circulate the warm air in your house in those rooms where you have ceiling fans. So make sure you do that. Next item on the list. Oh, I forgot my ring. Let's go ahead and do
Yeah,
that.
don't forget
Next
that.
item on the install storm windows.
Yes.
If you have single pane windows and you have storms, go ahead and get those put in. And we'll be talking about that here as we talk about air movement throughout the house. Because the next item on the list is actually check for drafts.
Yes.
And storm windows can help with that if
Drafts?
they're installed properly. Drafts. What? Drafts. Oh, I forgot about that. I got elephants, but I've never seen drafts.
I've never had a draft in my house.
Draft. Air
I don't
movement.
think it could fit through the front door.
So we were just talking about ghosting in the last segment of the show and what causes that, and it has to do with drafts. The way, stop it. The way air moves through your house. Oh man. So yeah, if you have a lot of drafts in your house, draft.
How do you say the two where they
Without
sound different?
sounding like a giraffe. If you have a lot of air movement through your home that's unwanted, that's important to know. Why? Because air is the main conduit, if you will, for heat to move throughout your house. So if you have air moving in or out,
Yeah.
then there's a chance that you're also losing heat.
Absolutely.
You're losing efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today is locating where that air is moving in and out of your house. Fall is the perfect time to do that because you're getting ready to turn on the heat. And let's talk about it a little bit. So
This
is
it.
what's called I want to talk about a phenomenon that we call the stack effect.
We're on some phenomenons today.
Yeah. Ghosting. Now we're talking about the stack effect.
And we threw some drafts in the
Yep.
middle.
Yeah. So
I'll be complaining about the drafts
in your house.
Yeah, because of the because I always complain about it this time of year, and because the window right next to the couch.
Oh yeah,
where I watch football.
He has
on
a big
Sundays,
picture window on the front of his house.
a big picture window where when I bought my house, I replaced every window in the house except for that one because it has the diamond.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what's that shape? The diamond shaped
Yes.
things, big picture window with the diamonds on it.
panes.
And because I kept it because of the era of house, the style of house it is. And honestly, when I was renovating, I was inside one day and I looked outside and it was snowing. And for those you don't know, it doesn't snow that much here. But I looked outside and it was snow, and it looked so pretty coming, through that picture window.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not putting a new window in there. But now every year when I'm sitting there watching football on Sunday and there's a draft coming
there you
through,
go. That sounded
I did
good.
good. I
Yeah.
did that good. When there's I guess when it's singular, it's not as hard.
Yeah.
But if you make it plural, it's not good. But there was a draft coming through, and but yeah, it's like, why didn't I just replace this window?
Yeah.
I do it every year, but I love the way it looks. But yeah, that wind coming through there when you're sitting there just trying to chill, because that's the one place in the house that I can feel air coming.
Yeah.
in.
So why does it do that? So that's kind of what we want to get into today.
Yep.
Is you have this phenomenon, this thing with your house. It's called the stack effect, and what it is you have air's going to naturally move through your house. If you're living in a 2-story house, you're going to know this more than anything else. When I was a kid, I lived in a 2-story house that had one HVAC system. Mm-hmm. It was always cold downstairs in the winter.
Yes.
And it was always hot upstairs in the summer.
Right.
And it was just basically because of the thing called the stack effect. What happens is when you have warm air, air is going to move. We're talking about pressure differences. The natural movement of air is from high pressure to low pressure, right? And so if you have lighter, warmer air in your home, it's
Yes.
going to go up into the air.
Okay.
All right? It's going to go up into the air, up into the upper stories of your house, eventually into your attic.
Okay.
Well, when that air leaves your attic, maybe through a roof vent or something like that,
Right.
what ends up happening is and it leaves your building envelope, which we'll talk about in a second. When that air leaves, it's going to have to be displaced by other air, which usually comes from the bottom, from places like your windows, your
Yes.
doors, maybe even through gaps in your home, through the crawl space or basement.
Yes.
And so what you have is this natural convection current that's running, and it's called the stack effect. If you think about the more stories you have on your building, the more prominent that stack effect is going to be.
Right.
And so that's why it's an important thing to know where air is coming in and out of your house.
Right.
Checking for
this is a
drafts.
complete checking for drafts. Yeah, this is a complete side note, but this is also what the same building physics that gets explained a lot when you talk about radon. I'm just throwing that out there.
absolutely.
I'm just throwing that out there as a complete side note. I don't want to get into radon
Yeah.
right now, but this is the same building physics that is mentioned that causes high radon levels in your house.
Yes. And what we do these days with homes is we're more concerned about energy efficiency more than we ever have, I would say. And so what do we do to kind of prevent this from happening, to minimize it? Well, what we do is we seal the areas where air is escaping our living space. We
Right.
want to keep that air that makes us comfortable in our home. Mm-hmm. So we want to think of our home and or the structure that we live in. We want to think of a couple of terms, and I've got some examples here if you go on. We have our building envelope, which is the perimeter of the house. We've talked about this on the home.
Yes.
Or on the show before. And that would be, everything that separates the outside from the inside. All right? So let's say we have if you think about how air moves, if we have a high pressure situation outside and the inside of the house is a low pressure system, if you will,
Right.
that air is going to want to infiltrate our house.
Right.
Come in, that's what we call it, infiltration, where air comes in from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is our building envelope. Now, there are certain areas where we don't mind outside air coming in, and those would be like attic spaces and crawl spaces and places of our home that we don't live in. And that's why we have the difference between our building envelope and our thermal envelope, which is our next slide here that we have to share.
There it is.
And it's around that thermal envelope. That's our interior living space where we live. That's where we want to protect our air.
Right.
Not so worried about attics, not so worried about basements and crawl spaces. So that is the barrier where we want to check for.
Drafts.
There you go. Or a singular
Draft.
There you go. And that's where we want to seal things up. And that's going to be, the obvious ones are like around windows and doors. You were mentioned in the big picture window that you have. But there are other areas that homeowners may not be as aware of that are good to seal as part of your fall maintenance checklist as you prepare for the colder months. There are areas in your they'll say your attic and your crawl space. One other area that I haven't mentioned is your garage.
Right.
That is a part of your building envelope, but not part of your thermal envelope, if you will.
Correct.
You want to think of it as anywhere you have insulation installed.
Unless you live up north where you have dogs living in your garage or something.
Yeah.
There's some places
Some
up
people-
north
yeah.
that actually the garage is part of their thermal envelope
Yeah.
also, just because they actually use that space just for dogs
That's a very
to live
good point.
in and
And
stuff
another,
like that.
yep. And so one of the reasons why you want to seal up your garage is not only because you could have air transfer there between interior and exterior space, but you also are likely to store chemicals. Mm-hmm. You might have a car running.
Yes.
And you don't want carbon monoxide to come into the house. So
Correct.
it's another reason to seal areas between your garage and your interior living space. That may be the first place you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So where are those areas? There any place that you have, and I've got a list here on our slide.
Where
to seal. Garages, attics and crawl spaces, anywhere that you have changes in building material.
Okay.
So, like for example, in our ghosting example in the previous segment of the show is a perfect example of we have a wooden stud and we have drywall.
Yes.
So we have a change in building materials there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a gap between insulation in the wall and the stud and the drywall. Anytime you have that going on, there are places like in your attic where the tops of your walls, or where we call the top plates, where you have drywall going up to wooden studs. We use things like wall mud and things like that to seal up cosmetically those areas, but it doesn't mean that air is not gonna flow through those gaps, those sections there. So that's why, like nowadays when we build homes, we have to do things like fire blocking and things like that between floors. So if you're in an attic, look for those areas where air might move in between your insulation and your interior walls. Another really good place to look, especially when it comes to crawl spaces and attics, is wire penetrations or pipe penetrations. I have them all throughout my 1960s era 2-story home, where they just drilled holes and then ran the plumbing up through, or ran the wiring up through, or even ductwork in some cases, where there's nothing but a gap.
Yeah.
And I've gone through in a couple places when I'm there. And sealed up those areas. So especially if you live in an older home, this would be a good weekend project for you. Go through your attic, go through your crawl space, and help seal up those spots. Because if you think about air, that warm air going up out of your ceilings and up into your attic, that makeup air is coming right from your crawl space.
Yep. Where it's colder.
Yep, exactly. So wire and pipe penetrate. Any chases?
Yes.
There were times back in the day when we had wide open attic especially in the 80s when we started going to metal flues and we'd have these chimney chases going up through the middle of your home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of air.
No
that
fire
could
blocking,
easily-
nothing, just wide open. Insulation falling in there. That's about it.
Yeah, and fire blocking is a perfect example of something that we have basically started applying to the construction process to keep air moving from moving. And of course, with fire blocking, basically the difference between that and regular foam or other caulking or sealing is that it's more effective at higher temperatures.
Correct.
And so those are things that we want to do that help prevent air moving through the house, heat basically moving through the house, which is what fire blocking does.
Yep.
And another good one is recessed lights.
Yes.
Now, how do we seal these areas up? And I've been mentioning like caulking, which is one way of doing it, but there are other areas like, let's say, chases, or let's say you have, open spaces between walls. You're not going to caulk that whole space up.
Right.
You can do things like using foam panels.
Yeah, OSB. Your OSB is used for fire blocking a lot of times, but the foam panels. I mean, there's some spaces are too big to actually try to just start putting caulk. I mean, you got to have something there, then put the caulk around the edges.
Yes.
So a lot of times it's going to be wood or some form of panel, drywall. Drywall can serve the purpose.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a space that's bigger than what that caulk will actually
fill,
it's got to adhere to something. It's got to hit the edge somewhere, and you're not going to be able to start over here on this edge and it's going to fall at some point in time. You got to have something.
There's sometimes you might have just a few inches that you're trying to fill.
Right.
You can stuff insulation in there and then apply the caulk on top of that.
Right.
That's effective. I was bringing the foam up because of recessed lights. A lot of times recessed lights aren't rated. The cans.
Right.
Well, these are older ones.
Yeah.
Nowadays are so much better.
Yeah.
But, you might have holes in your ceiling where these cans are sitting and they cannot have contact with building materials. That's where you can go and you can build
the foam boxes.
And seal them up, and that helps with efficiency.
Absolutely.
But those are areas. Just think about that's the thing to think about is wherever you have insulation. Think and look at those areas where air might easily move from inside to outside, and there are ways with foam and caulking that you can seal those areas up. So that's one of those things you could do, and do it as you go, as you think about it. That's kind of how I've been doing in my house.
Right.
Is if I find myself running wiring somewhere, and I'm like, look, there's this whole wall cavity where there's nothing but holes, and there's nothing but crawl space here coming up. You can just seal that stuff up.
Absolutely.
And what do? You could use, you can use something as simple as the Great Stuff to use a brand name, but other and caulking, other spray foam. I can't remember if I did it during the show or not. Last week I was mentioning Flex Seal.
Oh yeah. You mentioned Flex Seal. Something about.
There's a story, and I want to cover this.
In Florida.
I had it on the docket for this week, but this is our Halloween show. We're going to have fun in our next segment with our news desk. But there is a gentleman who protected his business using Flex Seal from the flooding of Hurricane Ian. So we'll get into that next week. So that's fascinating. You want to stick around for that.
That's a
but
good advertisement.
First, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back. I know. I can't believe they haven't run an ad for that yet.
I'd have that all out there.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk about Halloween. We're going to be talking about different kind of ghosting. We've got a dirty ghost out there in a house in Texas.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and we have a great pumpkin. It does exist.
Okay.
And that's right. Here it is.
There he is! There he is! It's the great pumpkin!
That's all coming up, plus more on the Home Pros Radio Show News Desk after this break. Thanks for watching the Home Pros Radio Show. Shane and I would love to know what you think of the show, so we'd like to invite you to leave us a review.
At the Home Pros Radio Show, it's our goal to keep homeowners entertained, inspired, and informed. So let us know how we're doing.
Your review helps us ensure that we're including the content you want to hear and that we're reaching out to more homeowners just like you.
So click on that review button and tell us what you think.
Your relationship with your home is an emotional one. Your home provides a sense of pride for you and your family. Through ongoing training, past experience, and current technology, RIC Home Inspections can provide you with the most reliable and accurate information available so you can enjoy the rewards of your home ownership. Call RIC Home Inspections at 235-5505 or visit us online at richomeinspections.com. That's 235-5505. RIC Home Inspections. Love where you live.
The Home Pros Radio Show is brought to you in part by Screen Mobile of the Piedmont. Established in 1982, Screen Mobile National has been around that long, and they're the nation's largest screen installation and repair company. They offer many different options for windows, screens, whether it's a corporate location or even a home residential location. They can bring their mobile units out to you and repair your screens, replace them, or even create a whole outdoor environment that you can use to keep the bugs out with their screens.
I've always been impressed with the tent one, the one that keeps your siding from melting or your neighbor's siding from melting.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's saying tent with an I to help cool things down. Yeah, for those of you who are not in the South.
From South Carolina.
Exactly, and that'll protect some of your outdoor building products like your siding from melting. That's a good point. I never
it's
even
not
thought
always
about
a
that.
grill. It can be a window.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So give Screen Mobile a call. There's a Screen Mobile in your area. You can visit them online at screenmobile.com. If you're in the upstate of South Carolina, call Screen Mobile of the Piedmont, 864-641-7476. And we're back on the Home Pros Radio Show. I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections.
And I'm Shane Hips with Closing Contractor.
And this is about the time of the show we visit our news desk. All right. Shane's busy typing away.
Oh, I saw you typing, so I was going to type too. I didn't want him to think it's just you making all that noise.
That's right. It's just so funny. You started doing it right when I heard the noise.
Like, remember when you fake drank that one time?
No, I'm always drinking. Yeah. Well, I got another.
I just busted out. I was like, oh, God. Did you just fake drink?
Shit. All right, we got another noise for you. It's this. That's right. It's our Home Pros Radio Show Halloween news desk we have this week. And we're going to start off our stories this week with this.
There he is! There he is! It's the Great Pumpkin!
That's right. It is. A horticultural teacher from Minnesota has set a new U.S. record for the heaviest pumpkin. Weighs 2,560 pounds.
That's a pretty big pumpkin.
Yes. He's from Anoka, Minnesota, and his name is Ginger. You're from Minnesota. Maybe you can help me with this.
She started laughing. You probably said Anoka wrong.
No, Anoka's right.
Okay.
This is up
It's
from.
just north of Fridley.
Yeah, this just north of where she's from.
Where's that? Fridley?
Yep. Yeah, it's a friendly place.
Huh.
Shout out to Fridley, Minnesota, just north of Minneapolis.
Gotcha.
Travis Geinger. Gienger. There was not a pronunciation key with this story, so he is the winner of the annual pumpkin weighing contest in Northern California. Minnesota, he says, has a great mid-year, but our spring in our parts is really, really tough. So to actually grow the biggest pumpkin in Minnesota is a big deal.
Okay.
He says it's kind of like winning the Tour de France while riding a tricycle. But it worked, or a big wheel. Same thing. He drove the gargantuan gourd for 35 hours to see his hard work pay off at the 49th World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off. That's in Half Moon Bay in South San Francisco. So congratulations to him. See, I'm a
Pumpkin farmer?
I'm a bit of a gardener myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and we've had pumpkins this
You've grown
big.
pumpkins before? Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I'm more of a grower, not a shower. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Hey,
so,
what's the...
Yeah, that's right. I'm missing it. It's right here. It's right. Where'd it go? It's right here. No, that's a correct answer. Yeah, that's it. There we go. So, one interesting tidbit about this is, and I have two photos. So I have the winning gourd, that's the big photo, but then the lower right-hand corner is another championship gourd.
That's a New York
pumpkin.
State record right there.
Yep, that grower. Let's see. Where is it? Where's my note on this? Oh yeah, just before this one from Minnesota won, there was one from New York where a grower raised a massive pumpkin. That one down there weighs 2,500 pounds.
Well, that top one weighed
2,550 pounds.
Okay.
So this one's 10 pounds heavier, the winner. 2,560 pounds from Minnesota. 2,554 pounds.
Oh, God.
New York.
Pretty
That's
close.
How close they were.
Pretty close race here.
The world record is from Italy.
Okay.
2,702 pounds.
Oh.
Well, I guess so that was a squash. So I guess it's related to gourds.
So they all play in the same
Yeah, I guess
thing
so.
here, I guess. That's cool.
All right, next story. All right, let's talk ghosts.
Oh, Lord.
I know, ready?
She didn't look happy.
Going. Yeah. So a Texas couple is claiming that their house is haunted by ghosts
That talk dirty.
who like to talk dirty.
Oh, gosh.
That's right, yeah. Linda Hill said she and her husband started renting out their property in Gainesville, Texas several years ago and initially heard rumors that it was haunted. And she didn't believe the rumors. She didn't until one of the apparent ghosts made a move on her.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's what she says. Hill said she was taking a shower at the home where she claimed that she saw and heard a dark figure on the other side of the curtain say, "Looking good."
Really?
Yeah. She thought it was her husband, but then he later walked through the door moments later asking who she was talking to.
Oh.
That's creepy.
That is.
Yeah, Hill said the home, which was built in the 1840s,
Okay.
is rumored to be a former brothel.
Okay.
So that's probably why it is a talking dirty ghost.
Looking
good.
So that's all he said?
No, well,
I didn't know if he
I
said
think
any
we
bad
have some
words.
more recordings of maybe it's just, which is why she believes the spirits are inclined that way. The couple has even had paranormal enthusiasts visit the home with voice phenomenon equipment. Yeah, Hill claims that she's also heard the suggestive house guests say other things like, "Yeah, I like it like that."
Oh, God.
It doesn't sound the same when I say it. Yeah, I like it like that. I think we have some recordings, some other recordings that were found by the paranormal investigators that she had at the house. Let's see. I think I have one right here. Let's take a listen.
Nice booty.
There we go. Yeah, nice booty. Mm-hmm. Or how about this one?
Show me those boobies.
Now that is inappropriate. That would be nice. But yeah, it sounds like
That
sounds
would be
like a
very nice
ghost.
of you. Yeah.
Sounds like a
that's
ghost.
definitely a ghost.
Yeah, the home is one of several in the area that the couple rents out, but this is the only home that they have that issue with.
Really?
Yeah. So she started realizing there was an issue when they couldn't keep anybody in the house for longer than 6 months at a time. So maybe we should head out there and investigate.
Maybe some people would like the ghost talking to them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody hard up, they might enjoy that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey.
Somebody who's lonely.
They come and talk to you every now and then when you get in the shower. Hey.
Yeah. So they eventually gave up renting out the home to live-in tenants. Now they just, I guess, rent it out to people who want to investigate.
There you go.
So there you go. So you can hear things like this.
Nice booty.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's have some fun. Let's
Okay,
have some fun
okay.
with Halloween.
Oh, I'm still stuck on the ghost,
Still on there.
apparently.
Yep. Let's have some fun with Halloween.
Got it.
All right. So we've had some stories in recent years where people go far and beyond with their Halloween decorating.
Correct.
Do you remember the guy who got into trouble with his neighbors because
The man was hanging from his gutter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was too gory. I see 2 years ago we first covered the story. Last year I remember we covered it, and it was, he actually made it even more gory.
Right.
Made it even worse.
Yeah,
so
there's blood squirting out across the yard
Yeah,
and stuff. Like
yeah.
he had a fountain out there.
yeah,
or
we
something
haven't.
like.
He hasn't come across the wire this year, so I guess he's toned it down. I believe it was in Houston, but what we do have is a list from The Coolest.
Okay.
This is a website. So, Halloween's the type of year when we love to decorate our homes like crime scenes and things like that. In fact, this is a good time of year to even, I know it's the fall maintenance checklist. Maybe, around my house, this is the time of year we get those big spider webs from the spiders. And I just leave them out there because I think it's festive.
Yeah, there you go. Just
Leave
leave
the
'em.
cobwebs out
Leave
there.
them.
Yeah, it's part of the season. But many homeowners like to go even further. So when you're ready to get inspired, if you're ready to decorate your house, we have some ideas for you. So we'll share this article with you if you're listening to our podcast. But check out these houses. This one look at this one with all the pumpkins, the jack-o'-lanterns.
That's a lot of pumpkins.
That takes a lot of carving. It's making more than 100 glowing pumpkins. That's crazy. Think about all that time. All right, next one. This one was actually one we covered.
Ooh.
This one, if I recall correctly, we covered this one. It might have been last year or the year before. It's basically a house where they lit up the inside of the house to make it look like somebody is
Trying to get out?
trying to get out, almost
Yes.
like they're being held captive.
Yes. It looks like a bad scene from Saw.
I remember us carrying yes. And they had and in blood, there's handprints on the window, or not blood, but in red paint.
Yeah.
Handprints on the window, and they spelled out "Help us."
Mm-hmm.
There was a story that we covered where somebody did that,
Right.
and the neighbors were calling 911
Oh,
because
yeah.
they thought it was serious.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be careful with those types of things. So how about on a lighter note? Here's one that's I like to call the lighted path.
Okay.
Isn't that festive?
That is.
That's just
nice.
that's a lot of fun. We have folks have decorated their front yard with moving pieces and haunted house decorations, but they're whimsical, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it fun, bright, and inviting. That's kid friendly, definitely.
Absolutely.
So there's that way, or you could go in another direction. We get scared by things like ghosts and goblins, but what about aliens?
Yeah, that's pretty spooky.
I like this one. This is a house where they actually, I don't know how they hung that UFO over the house, but it's a lit up, or I'm sure it's not hanging, but they've got it mounted up there somehow. And they made it look like
I think there's a tree limb right there in the middle of it.
maybe it's dangling from a tree.
That is a tree limb, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's very
So
neat.
they made it look like their UFOs landing at the house. That's pretty cool.
Got Area 51 painted along the front of the house.
That's a nice little. That's another theme, and this one's probably my favorite. Probably.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, right?
How
Can
they
you
do that?
believe this?
That's a lot of work.
So going another direction, we have, I guess, a scene from I don't know, Pirates of the Caribbean or something.
Yeah.
This is insane what these folks did.
That's where that goat said booty.
Yeah, give me your. Here we go.
It did say it did say give me your
nice booty. Give me your booty. Arr, arr. So yeah, this homeowner picked a theme and went way over the top.
Oh, yes.
It looks like basically they made it look like a pirate ship just went right through the front of their house.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just so super cool.
God, that takes some time to do.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it makes me wonder. I see some of these decorations people put out in there.
They got a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool, though.
And it shows that they had a little bit of this person. I wouldn't be surprised as a contractor or something, because the way they made it look like the boat is bursting through the siding.
Right.
And they knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes that illusion complete. So there's some ideas. Maybe that'll help you. Maybe that'll help inspire you to decorate your house for Halloween. If you haven't done it yet, you got a few days left. And that's going to wrap up our news update for this week.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
All right, so what did we learn today? Well, we learned that, for one, there's more than one way to decorate your house for Halloween. It doesn't have to be scary or spooky stuff,
Yeah.
right? It could be fun, like pirates or aliens.
Absolutely.
All right, and I'm a grower, not
That's
a
just
shower.
you dinged it before you said it all day.
I was debating on whether I should say it.
Drown myself out a little bit.
Some other items we learned today on a more serious note. We talked about air movement through your home. We talked about building physics.
Yes.
Things like we discussed your thermal envelope. comparing that to your building envelope
Uh-huh.
and how to help seal your home up from energy loss, which is going to be important this year. It's what they keep talking about. How
Yeah.
expensive it is going to be to heat your home this year. And we also talked about the stack effect. That's always something that's interesting and important to know about, especially when understanding things like another concept we covered today, how ghosting works.
Yeah, we learned that I didn't know what ghosting was. Or
Yeah.
at least that not that kind of ghosting.
I'm surprised you hadn't seen it before.
If I have, maybe it just hasn't been as obvious as the picture we showed, because the picture we showed was really obvious. It's possible that I've seen it before, toned down a little bit from what that was.
I gotcha.
Because that was very obvious.
One thing that Shane has experienced
What's that?
is a door slamming on him.
Yes, that was scary.
That's always scary when
That was
you're
very
home
scary.
by yourself. So.
Yes.
Have you had any ghostly experiences?
When? In my life?
Yeah,
Or
like when you're in a house?
I can't really think of any. I mean, besides just getting the chili stuff, I ain't never had I've never seen one, or that I
We've
can
gone on
think of.
paranormal investigations before.
Yeah, I want to
Come
see.
close.
Yeah, I want to see some ghosts.
So
I mean, I
we'll
think
keep
it'd
you
be neat.
posted. Maybe we'll try to do that again with the Paranormal Investigation Team Greenville.
Yeah, we need
Our
to do
friends
that.
over there.
That'd be
So
fun.
you guys have a happy Halloween. That's going to wrap up our show this week. Yeah, try to stay safe. Enjoy yourself.
Yep.
And next week we're going to be. I don't know what we have in the docket next week. We're going to be talking. We've got a couple things that I'm thinking about. Moisture in the crawl space. That's come up on a couple of occasions at one of our realtor realtor visits we had just recently.
Right.
Maybe we'll be talking about that, and we got some more. We're going to cover speaking of moisture coming in your house. How about the Flex Seal story?
Oh, yeah, that'd be a
Tease
good one.
that. We're gonna have to get into that one. That one's fascinating. That plus more. So make sure you follow us, like us, and subscribe to all of our channels: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all those places at Home Pros Radio. And until then, until we see you next week on the show. You guys have a good one. Take care. Next time on the Home Pros Radio Show.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can also catch our podcast episodes and learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. The Home Pros Radio Show is made possible by Prime Lending, RIC Home Inspections, Closing Contractor, Radon Recon, and Carolina Heating Service. If you are a trusted service provider in our area and would like to contribute to the show, send us a message through our Contact Us page at homeprosradio.com. Once again, thanks for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show.